find them! We must keep our eye on the preservation of the light! Enemy recon plane! Right above us! They send their hounds! They too will find only death! Ensure this is the only time we taste defeat! March together for victory! Team Deathmarch! March together for victory! Enemy recon plane! Right above us! Enemy recon plane! Right above us! Enemy artillery! Enemy recon plane! Right above us! Our recon plane will find them! Recon plane! Right above us! They send their hounds! They too will find only enemy recon plane! Enemy recon plane! Artillery!
Hey, said who? I'm just waking up. Nothing wakes me up like World War II. How are you doing? Corona. Man, are you worried about it? I'm worried about how people are acting, not really about the virus. Look at the growth rate and the death rate. You know how many samples a path tracer takes to get right? You know how many samples it takes to get accuracy, right? Infinite. We don't have enough samples yet. And that, okay, the other thing is, those cases assumes all the test kits are correct. And you know there's actually different quality of tests, different quality of reagents and things. So they can actually, like, so during the crisis like this, when they have a choice between buying more expensive and more accurate tests, or buying less expensive, what do you think they have a bias towards in a crisis? Do you think they'll be more likely or less likely to buy the cheaper, less accurate tests during a crisis? I don't know. Did you hear about how the US test kits or the US CDC test kits are confusing the virus with water? It's coming up with false positives of the virus when there's just water. Yeah, look it up. It's like a new news story. It just broke like yesterday or something. But like that's just an example. And that's just like one. Basically though, like I've talked about this before, non-absolutism. I mean, it's a virus? Yep, it is a virus, but you've had coronavirus before. I guarantee you have had a coronavirus, and I'm not saying this one isn't worse. I'm just saying that, like, it is not our biggest problem right now. Like, nowhere close to our biggest problem or issue. People are fucking overreacting. Hold on 1 second. Don't think they're overreacting. Yeah, it's so that's the really interesting thing that like we never know actually, because like if this turns out to be nothing, you could just go, oh, everyone's reaction of quarantining and testing, quarantining and testing was effective. Or if it turns out bad, you could just go, oh, it was going to be bad anyways. Like, it's partly random, but it's 5 or 10% death rate. No, that's the death rate for like the elderly population, and that's about the same death rate as the flu. If you look up the death rate in children, it's 0%. Look it up. The death rate isn't a set death rate. It's a chart between... That is not all cases. And also, that's part of non-absolutism that I've been talking about. How do you... Have you heard how... Wait, what? For me it says 10,000 out of 25,000. or 250,000, which is like 2% death rate. .4% death rate. And how do you attribute a virus to a death? Have you heard about that? How you could also argue that a lot of the elderly population that's dying of this die anyways? And also, that assumes like that information is accurate. So I think a good one to look at is South Korea's statistics, because they've had 8,652 cases and only 94 deaths. And they have been shown to have like the most accurate testing and things. So hold on, I'm going to switch over to zombies now. So the main difference I've seen with Italy too, or that I've heard is different, well, I think it's pretty fact. So look up infrastructure in Italy. Italy basically has a lot of corruption problems. Basically, you know how important clean water and electricity is to sanitation and like healthcare and stuff like that. So it's definitely like other parts of their country and society are definitely, and culture are definitely related to the coronavirus. Also, Italy just has a giant elderly population. If you look up, there's like a whole bunch of people that like kind of wealthy elderly who've just moved there from other countries and things. Like partly, I guess, because it's I know, like, why is this a black screen still? There we go. They say they engineered the virus to kill the elderly. So that's the other thing I've talked about with the death rate, is how do you tell it's coronavirus? So, okay, what I'm going to look at from the stats in hindsight, when this is, I'm assuming in 6 months this is all going to be gone. I'm just remembering the hysteria around vaping and how a bunch of young males were dying and going to the hospital from this mysterious vaping illness, and how that just completely disappeared and it just ended up being regular pneumonia. And hopefully we're going to look at the mortality rate and nothing's going to have changed. The dip's only going to be in the stock market. But when we do go and look at that mortality rate, the thing to realize is that the baby boomer population has been, their population spike has been reaching mortality age, which is already giving us like a 5% mortality rate increase each year. Like, mortality rate is already increasing each year just naturally due to the population, the way the population is laid out. So it's like, that's the thing, is if the mortality rate still goes up by 5%, it's really hard, or 10%, it's really hard to go, hey, that's 100% coronavirus, because you can also go, hey, that's the baby boomer population spike. But yeah, it'll be, so this is the interesting thing, the Spanish influenza only wiped out like 50%, like, it didn't wipe out that much of the population, only like 20%. So, really don't think it's going to be on that level with modern healthcare. So, like, if there is a 20% spike in mortality rate, that would be fucking nuts. Or, sorry, I just, that was a complete mess up. If there is 20% of the population gone, that would be fucking nuts. Or even, like, even 1% would be crazy. It would be so good for the world, let's be honest. Like, overpopulation is the issue. You want to die? It's more about probability. It's not that I want to die. It's, well, okay. I don't really care. Like, I was dead before for fucking ever. That's what happened before I was born. It, like, doesn't, like, if I die in my sleep, or just, like, go from something like that, that would be amazing. That's, like, basically nothing happens. But, like, of course, if I can live forever, oh man, this is fucking crazy though. This is a conversation we haven't had on stream before. If overpopulation is the issue, then kill yourself. See, okay, that's called asceticism. That's what the Buddhists did. And that assumes that everyone else will just also kill themselves. And that you can't also keep while you're living making an influence on other people. So I believe that's what I was talking about with non-absolutism. I believe a healthy mix of asceticism and minimalism, not living out of your, like, not taking too much from the world, but also realizing that you can influence it. Like, oh man, it's so complicated. Hold on 1 second. I'm just hacking this so that it automatically goes to wave 10. High rounds only. Okay, so also to get back into the whole thing of like life and death, I 100%, so part of oh god, my throat's already getting dry. Dude, talking kills me in the morning. Oh man, maybe you have corona? No, I just haven't drank any water yet, and I'm really not smart about that. Alright, as I was saying, I believe that the brain is so flexible that you can basically have, like, it can create hell, basically. Like, it can create things like that a person who's just like able to talk and speak, like you and me. Like, imagine, I can't remember what this is called, but basically you're locked in your body, you can't move anything, you can just see what's happening. It's basically like you're paralyzed. And it's not sleep paralysis, it's like an actual condition. Yeah, no, not sleep paralysis, it's like permanent. I think there's stuff like that. Like, probably like if you gave someone a whole bunch of magic mushrooms and then made them have a really bad trip. Like, there's probably stuff that, that's the whole thing, is you can't even conceptualize it. I'm saying it from the perspective of when, like, I'm working on AI, you're generating random configurations. that stuff I don't think isn't on a very large scale because it's like thousands of neurons. When you've got things like the human brain where there are trillions, like an uncountable number of particles and configurations going on, it's possible for imagine heroin, where you can basically make your brain feel amazing. You can basically trigger all your positive reward systems. Those reward systems are like fine-tuned by evolution over millions of years. Imagine, just out of random, like when you're generating a neural network or an AI, or for example, if a human brain or something somehow mutates into some way, it could create a reward system or a punishment system. Like, it could create a punishment system that's like the most horrible thing imaginable with the AI or French gun or haymaker. I'm probably gonna die here. I'm fucking sidetracked. But anyways, all I'm saying is I think death is a much needed thing, because you have to accept that there is such thing as broken reward and punishment systems that basically puts a person or entity into like just a permanent state of suffering. And like on the flip side of that, I don't think a permanent state of reward either, like injecting yourself with heroin or smoking weed all day, is like a good form either. See, that's the thing. That's not... See, Setu, the punishment and reward system doesn't say anything about knowing wrong. Like, it more says a base point for wrong, like pain is wrong, and then it leaves it up to your brain to connect the dots of where pain and wrong, like how pain comes to be and how to stop that. Like finding the root cause of pain, which is actually, like, if you believe in physics and all that, is like an infinite path of possible combinations of particles and things. It's so complicated. Randomness doesn't exist in my view, so everything can be explained. What if... Wait, so you believe in determinism? Not necessarily wrong though, because surgery causes you pain and it's good for you. See, that's the thing though, for thousands of years surgery didn't really exist. Or, actually, yeah, that's the interesting thing, is, it's about levels of pain. Normally you have surgery, for example, when you're already experiencing a whole bunch of pain, and the surgery is actually nothing compared to the pain you had before, for example, like knee surgery or something. So, like, it's not about pain or no pain, like a true or false value. It's about how much pain. And that's part of what non-absolutism I was talking about before. But yeah, that's why, like, I honestly believe that the whole thing of infinite life is actually a curse, because it accepts the fact that your brain can always be happy or content, and you can't go into, like, a state of permanent suffering. But then the whole other thing is you gotta realize, well, for me at least, my belief, I don't believe in religion, I believe that it's insane, it is incredibly rare to form life out of like I believe in the multiverse theory, and there's infinite universes. I believe the majority of those universes are just dead and nothing happens there. It's like a bunch of the universes are probably like the Big Bang happens and then nothing happens after that. It's just like a fucking spark and then nothing. And I just believe we're incredibly lucky to be given the chance to live, and that you should make the most of that time, because you have no idea if there is no way of knowing whether or not you have more time after this or anything, so all you can do is make the most of this time and try to extend it. But then it gets so complicated because you gotta realize extending your own life begins to harm other life around you. Consciously, man, I've talked about this before. I don't believe humans are I don't think consciousness is like a true or false thing. I've talked about before, I think consciousness is like a scale from not aware at all, which is like, I believe even particles in our universe, like light, are aware of the other particles and gravity around them. I believe everything has a tiny form of awareness. But hold on, I'm concentrating on zombies. But I believe and then I believe the consciousness scale ends at omniscience, which I don't believe is possible because I've said this before. I've also talked about this before when I've done neural network streams. Omniscience, in my opinion, is basically at the point when the brain is the only thing in existence. Like, basically, to be aware of everything, the brain has to be everything. And I believe on that consciousness scale, humans are nowhere close to omniscience. So, like, if our universe is infinite, for example, then I believe, like, omniscience would be infinite, and if you take the scale of infinite, it's always zero. If anything divided by zero, infinite is zero. Everything is just a brain? Well, no. It could be. You could think of it like that. This is part of the other thing I've talked about. All these things like brain and a conscious entity, these are just human, human ideas. Like, I know it's really hard to explain, but like, it can go past that. Or like, to a more fundamental level. Like, what I'm trying to say is the words conscious entity and things can never exactly describe what it means. Or what it exactly is. Don't we use like 7% though? So this is the way I'm aware of it. Our brain is like running. Oh, I gotta fix something. And oh, wait. Hello, good morning. I fixed my camera so it's more zoomed in. So this is the way I see it, or I understand it. Oh, I gotta get water too. It's like all of our brain. Okay, our brain may actually like run. Okay, I gotta go and get water before I do this. Throat's so dry. 1 second. Oh, that's so good. Okay. Alright, let me finish that part about, oh my god, this is quite the conversation for 8:30 in the morning. Okay, this is making me want to program neural networks too. Alright. So, this is what I've seen. Is your... First of all, this is just my belief, but your arms and the neurons, your whole body has neurons, nerves everywhere. I believe these have memory. Your arms and things have memories. For example, when a person gets an artificial limb, like, okay, imagine you somehow connected one person's arm, like you cut off one person's arm and connected to another person's. Their nerves wouldn't connect the same. They would have different signals, and basically sending one person's signal to go and like wave might go and send the other person's signal to punch. Like, so basically the first thing I want to say that this is you are more than your brain. Like, I personally believe your body includes part of your brain, and that the whole idea of like Futurama, of chopping off your head and just having your brain in your head, that's not you. I think that would break you as a person, because your body actually stores memories. Like, I believe that our brain probably goes past that to even like store backups of things in our muscles for like when we sleep and things. Because like, I believe that evolution finding the most optimal route, if anyone's looked at computer code and stuff like that, genetics is like, it's so crazy efficient that like a conscious brain, like a human brain, we're not designed to understand this shit. And so said who, to go on to your next topic of like, it's so crazy that humans have evolved to be more intelligent than these other animals and why the other animals have caught up. You gotta realize that evolution isn't about, or like natural selection isn't about like being the best. It's just whatever survives and can live. It's not about like, so, and this is the thing about living, it's not about like staying alive, it's about not dying. Like, I guess those are like the same thing, but it's a really important difference, because dying is the exact thing that, like, it's not about what lives, it's about what dies. You get that? It's about like what's removed and not about what's added. Because like the whole thing that I was talking about, the world being so big, the whole logic is the world, the universe, and all the particles have so many configurations that nearly everything is going to be tried. Then all it's a question of is what lasts and survives after everything's been tried. I gotta drink more water, 1 sec. Oh god. So I have a question. Was my voice too loud there? OBS is showing my voice is really peaking now. I think it's good though. I started thinking about, now that my throat was hurting, maybe I am talking now. But yeah, that is, I'll never get bored about talking the universe and life, but it's, I feel like it's something that people don't talk about enough. I don't know. Oh god, that's a big message. Believe in the soul or essence of human beings, but even animals, like, you can't describe it. Individual material configuration of something that's human that changes everything. What are you a different person when you grow up? Oh yeah, I 100% believe that I am a different person now than I was like a second ago. Like, me is a constantly changing thing that is never the same. Like, you by definition, your brain, and you're like conscious, the process of you being conscious happens over multiple scales of particles moving. Like, if things didn't change, you literally wouldn't exist and wouldn't be conscious. Oh yeah, changing has nothing about it being unique. And your DNA, obviously. You can have different DNA inside your body. That's exactly what happens with cancer. When you're getting a DNA test, it's not taking like an absolute discrete sample. Like, imagine sampling 1 pixel. Imagine it searches through multiple pixels and finds out what color happens the most. And then, imagine if you're like one of the people from Chernobyl that got exposed to so much radiation you're gonna fucking die because your cells have all been mutated to shit. Your DNA test would probably show up as like scrambled and different each time. I'm not sure, but I believe that's what would happen. DNA is not the only descriptor. No, it's not. But it basically is like the core. Or it's like the seed, I guess. I think, I'm not sure about this, but I believe the way it works is that because we need like another human, or the way we need another human, or what we need is technically specific proteins in cells, and I believe the cells act as like, oh man, it's yeah, I'm not gonna try to describe it, but it's not like, right, and it's just DNA. I believe we need other cells and workers to actually do the full process. Like, if we had just DNA, like I think that's our issue with like when we find DNA of animals from the past and things. It's not just having the DNA, we actually need a bunch of the cells and proteins to actually do the process of like, imagine the DNA is the seed, but you need the proteins and cells as the actual random number generator code to read the seed or use it. Humans are just like animals. Well, we're just like animals in the sense that actually a lot of our DNA is like animals. And that, I don't know if you've watched animals a lot, but they're really like us. Like, birds are basically just like us. They build houses, they talk to each other all day, they eat, sleep, shit, fuck. Main difference is they lay eggs. But I mean, fucking humans, like, it's like a fetish for humans. Dude, I don't know what this is, but I am absolutely destroying zombies this morning. Funny if I died after that. Oh, said who? You're not... I've got really stupid plans. So, I want to be able to just stream for like all day But my issue is I need some goals. I need some goals to work towards. So I've been going, okay, I'm just gonna set a goal that's so far away I'm not gonna get it. I can just work towards. So I've decided with like the C core and C programming library I've been working on, I'm gonna work towards making an assembler and disassembler that reads. First of all, we're gonna work on reading 32-bit and 64-bit assembly. So basically making a debugger. And then we're going to look at making an assembler that compiles assembly. And then from that we could make like the equivalent of LLVM. So that's my super far away goal. Do you think there's other life or something advanced superior than us? Yeah, probably. What's the difference though between a simulation? Like, let's say like we're the simulation of some higher being in their computer. That computer's still running in reality. It's not like we're not part of reality. I think that's the thing people are scared of when they hear about like the simulation. Is they go like, I think it's also like, oh, it could be shut off at any time. Well, that's just like dying. You could die at any time. Not running in a reality? Well, that's the thing though, it would have to. For a thing, like, that's the whole thing about reality is, like, the simulation, the whole thing of turtles all the way down, is like, what's the difference between a simulation at that point? We're a part of it, but it's illusion. But it's an illusion. Isn't that contradicting? And so if the whole thing is based on laws and materials, then doesn't that mean it's material and real? Like, if the whole simulation is based off logic, and you could argue real, like if not, like the whole thing is logic, in my opinion, is real because numbers like are something that transcend everything else. Like number bases and things, binary is something that could like be represented in any language, any symbols or anything. So then, like, even if it's a simulation built off of numbers and things, then the logic there is real. It's a real thing. And then the whole thing of, like, a simulation has to run in something. Like, I don't believe there has to be a starting point. Like, the whole thing of turtles all the way down, it could be like a simulation that runs a simulation that runs a simulation that runs a simulation for like infinite, and then it somehow like loops back around so that the simulation at the bottom is simulating the simulation at the top. That would be like absolutely nuts. But like, the whole thing is that's still real. That would just mean the simulations are reality. Like, that's the whole thing, is first of all, to pull words of simulation and reality. What's a simulation and what's reality? Like, define those. For me, reality is like the top level, the purest form, like memory, like the state, basically. Probably something that isn't even numbers, it's probably like infinite. Probably pi. And then I believe simulation is just like a process Oh, well. Yeah, how do you describe simulation? I don't think it's necessarily a process of recreating something, but wait. When we die, we wake up. Holy shit, dude, you believe in Inception? Oh my god, did you guys hear about the Marvel superheroes, Snowflake? And these can't be real. There's apparently Marvel superheroes Snowflake, and like, there's another one called like Screen Time. I don't fucking believe it. My life is like a dream. Yeah, but that's the thing though, is like, what's the difference between simulation? When I think of simulation though, I think of like algorithm, like a process. And I believe that like reality could be a process too, so I'm not even sure. Hold on. What the fuck is what is the simulation definition? This probably assumes it. The act or process of simulating. Okay. Thank you, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, for using simulating in the definition of simulating. Energy is matter, right? Not necessarily. And those are all the human, that's all the human concept of physics. They all could be incorrect. I do agree that it could be an illusion on that sense, that humans are completely wrong in like what physics is, or that physics could be like a changing thing, that like our universe could actually be changing. We could just die because like the physics of our universe just change to give or assume the appearance or effect of often. Okay, so apparently the definition of simulate comes from imitate. So I was actually right before when I said that simulating is trying to like repeat something. So it's like a pattern and model. Okay, so if a simulation is just trying to emulate reality, then how is it different from reality? Like virtual machines in a computer are just like actual machines. It's not like it's any different. It's just like a different level. It doesn't change the actual process, though. I think we're bound by our existence. Oh yeah, we're dead. Like, no way we're not bound by the physics of the universe. Like I was saying, the only way... So, this is the whole interesting thing that I actually skipped over when I was talking about omniscience before. And if, for example, your brain is the only thing that exists. The whole thing I think that makes our existence fun, and the whole reason we have a brain, like starfish in the sea, like Patrick from SpongeBob, he doesn't have a brain. They don't need brains because water that just goes by them and they collect food from that. Like I was talking about evolution, it's just like, it's about what dies. If you don't need a brain to collect food, you won't die, and you don't need a brain. The reason we have a brain is because like it's very complicated up here on the surface, and you need a brain to navigate all of the complicated things like walking, like it's, or you don't need a brain, but like obviously you can see from birds and the creatures that are still around today, like having a brain and being, I don't know, like birds are some of the creatures that have adapted best to like city life and things, and I think part of it is because they're like, they build houses, they are like decently intelligent. Like, I think the tool building of them building houses and things is probably a good indicator. Well, we know crows are super intelligent, but... Oh, thank God for that nuke. Oh, no! No, it didn't... Oh, no. Dude, that was such a good game. Wave 28 from 15. That was really good. I think humans keep themselves strong using war for another test. Nah, man, we make ourselves super weak. We have, like... The population is the weakest after war. We basically send our next population off to die. It's like... War is what you do when the economy's shit and you just want to burn everything and start over again. And by burn everything, I mean the people. One principle that I don't know where I heard, the subsystem can never fully represent its parent system. Never fully understand the system you're bounded by. Well, that's very similar, yeah, for the whole omniscience thing, is... Alright, I actually never finished that. So if your brain is all that there is, and your brain's of course aware of everything in your brain, or, this is assuming the brain isn't like our brain, it's like fully connected, aware of everything inside it, that would be like omniscience. I think that would be boring and there would be no point of existence, because that's the complete opposite of our case, where the whole point of our brain is to deal with the challenges from the outside world. Whereas like an omniscient brain, it would just be dealing with challenges inside its own brain, inside itself. Which me personally, that to me is like the analogy of a human locked in like a... what are they called? The like sensory deprivation tanks where it's completely black and you hear, see, feel nothing? Like that. That's a prison though. That's omniscience though. That is you being aware of everything. Oh, and that isn't... Like I said though, that's not comparable for us though, because our brains aren't aware of everything. We have a subconscious and parts that our conscious doesn't even touch. But you could say that we're, at that time when we're in a sensory deprivation tank, we're only conscious of ourselves. Omniscience, but you have no strength, power, or will. But what does power or will come from? Your influence on the outside world, right? See, that's exactly what the awareness comes from, though, is to be aware of absolutely everything. You have to control absolutely everything. You understand that, right? You can only influence for yourself. That's what I'm saying, though. When you're omniscient, everything is you. I'm aware of you, no need to control you. Yeah, but you have no idea what the state of my, state of my particles. Like, there is no idea. No way to figure out. Like, omniscience is being aware of absolutely every attribute like that. Like, omniscience is being aware of one of my strands of DNA is going to break when being transcribed and cause cancer and kill me at a certain date that then goes and, with the butterfly effect, causes a whole bunch of other effects. You get what I'm saying? This needs to be like the last game where it just gives me a ray gun. was close. So repeat it. I just said you get what I mean. Oh wait, you wanted me to repeat that? I don't think I can repeat that exact thing. Let me see. See, this is what I'm talking about. My brain's not even aware of itself. Oh yeah, so you're not aware of like the DNA in my body and when it mutates. That, for example, my DNA mutating can go and lead to me getting cancer and then me dying on a specific date just due to a specific cell or a specific thing mutating at a specific time. And then that cascades through the butterfly effect to affect a whole bunch of other people and things. Like, that's the whole thing that makes it so complicated. Is like, omniscience would be way simpler in a one-dimensional universe that has like that is way less complex. So what Buddhists believe, they believe everything is an answer, station, God, or the universe itself. I don't believe in that, believe it. Of course, if that can make sense. I don't know about that, because I think it's... Can you look up if Buddhism comes from Jainism? Because the non-absolutism and asceticism, I believe, is a core concept of Jainism and Buddhism. And the non-absolutism says that reality is like basically it's so complicated, it's infinite, and you can't understand it. So I think that conflicts with that whole thing of God or the universe creates itself. Because I believe the non-absolutism part, which is more like the core principles of Jainism, says you just can't understand it, it's so complicated. That's depressing though? I don't know. But, so this is the whole thing as well about evolution, is like us thinking about this and having intelligence and big brains and being able to spend all this time talking about whether or not like God exists and all these things. This could just be an evolutionary dead end where it doesn't help us survive at all. Now that's depressing. You can never really attain knowledge of the world. Yeah, well, all the knowledge. I think that comes from greed, though. I like the whole idea of introducing people to the idea of omniscience being just yourself, like you being in a sensory deprivation tank. And it makes you think you should basically make your brain a place you would want to stay if you were deprived from everything else. Only getting machine guns this game. Oh my god. I believe everything is in harmony, everything follows a set of laws. It's consistent with each other because that means there's reason in the world. I said before, I believe that the laws and physics of the universe could change just like a snap of a finger and everyone just breaks or something. That's what non-absolutism tells me. I also believe, though, it could have a rigid set of laws that's gonna stay like this for infinite. Is it infinite or infinity? Or infinite? One of those is right, I think. some laws are infinite. Physical laws, so I wouldn't be. The other thing I've like keep saying, I think laws, like physical concept of conditions and things, it's just like a human idea. I don't think it's an actual representation. Alright, I'm gonna keep one of these zombies alive and just farm the mystery box. I'm gonna actually try and play it smart. Oh, wait, I could actually chuck a grenade. Like, I use math instead of English, yeah. I think a lot of math is... Wait, a lot of math is based off Greek, right? Math symbols? I'm gonna be real, dude, I hate math symbols. Like, fuck Wikipedia articles and their giant equations. Give me algorithm code any day. Like, the laid out instruction one by one, like in code, is so nice. Physics is math when it's used to describe the world. Yeah, sounds right. I think the zombies actually get easier once you start getting to these higher rounds. I swear I can actually kill these easier now that there's more. Like, I wonder if as there's more zombies, they lower their HP. Oh. Or it could be because of hacking the game. Computer do this? Yeah, it's like writing out a recipe and telling the computer to go and do that. Imagine if you could write out a recipe for a human. Like, go to the store, buy eggs, throw eggs at house, and then go back to step 1, go to the store, like an infinite while loop. Oh my god, that's gonna be AI from the future. It's gonna be horrible. Like, pranks are gonna be out of fucking control, man. Oh, I saw a really interesting post or article. We're gonna go over it on our programming stream. On the programming stream about this company, Sky something, Star Sky, I think, robotics. Something like that. They made the first, or one of the first driverless trucks, and they like did a road test in 2019 where the truck like drove across America, and they actually went out of business in 2020, or they shut down in 2020, and they made this big post explaining how machine learning isn't all it's cracked up to be. I fucking love it, so I'm gonna show that. There's some great points in it though about how like their team of 30 engineers has matched like Tesla's team of hundreds of engineers, just because like the guy shows a graph of how machine learning only needs a bit of information to improve, like a bit of data to improve a whole bunch. But then, once you start getting a lot of data, it slows down massively. It's like an S-curve. So basically, they're, like, even though Tesla is pumping and a bunch of other big companies are pushing way more data, they're getting way less benefit because, like, you start getting less benefit as you get more. Diminishing returns majorly. I just find it super interesting because now they're saying that actual driverless cars and things aren't going to be available for a long time. Or, like, if we get them, they'll be in the approach of, like, I don't know if you've heard about in, like, Toronto, Canada, Google's going to do a smart city with, like, self-driving cars and things where you can't, like, I believe you can't drive normal cars. Or, like, that's the only type of self-driving cars we would see is, like, a tram-type system, where it's, like, a specific lane or something that only the self-driving cars can go, and things like that. Or, like, basically a city where only self-driving cars and vehicles drive. Because, like, the humans are where the issue comes in. Like, if it's all... Like, so here's the thing, if it's all the self-driving cars, you don't need an AI, it literally just builds them into the traffic system, and it's so, like, that is the most efficient thing you can get. Is, like, a system where the cars are controlled by the traffic grid itself, so it can basically make cars, like, imagine cars whirring past each other, like two people going through a stop sign at the same time, and nearly hitting each other, but the computer basically just timed it perfectly. Shit. We're not going to get that because, like, humans want to drive their own cars. Alright, we're doing wave 50 this time, because high rounds only. Round 50! Oh, beautiful. I hope to God that this is still actually just round 1 and it just glitched out and said round 50. AI is something we shouldn't develop. Man, AI is going to be like the worst ethical disaster since, like, humans ourselves, because it's basically going to open the door to, like, us doing suffering and torture unimaginable. Like, torture that transcends death because AI can't die. That's what not a lot of people are talking about. Is how we're gonna treat AI like absolute shit. Or how already now people literally aren't thinking... Like, no one is questioning, what the AI think. Like, have you ever heard someone, like, ask, oh, I wonder how I wonder how these neural nets are feeling? Like, holy shit. Like, I'm not saying I'm 100% perfect, like, I've fucking messed with a whole bunch of neural nets, but the reason I talked about, like I was saying with death before, I believe, like, me killing the neural nets right away and not letting them live for long, that's basically, yes, they aren't living as long, but it also means they aren't suffering. It's not like a fucking zero-sum game. It's obvious they don't, though. The thing I always bring up, though, is how do you know a human has feelings? Like, you've heard the whole, I can't remember what it's called, but it's, the concept that you're the only person that actually exists and everyone else is just an illusion. And, like, the reality is, like, even, so the thing you can normally tell from people, like, be aware of their feelings, is talking to them. And even then, people can lie and basically mask their feelings, like, something else is completely there. So you can't even assume that just because, like, it's the same species and you have communication sets, that those aren't being, imitated or... So I think the safe thing is just to assume the non-absolutism route of entities can experience both suffering and pleasure. And there's some that can experience only suffering and only pleasure, but those are like really rare and don't really like the way the brain is set up in our world to deal with the environment and to keep us alive. Like, it's basically set up to have a reward and punishment system. I only think we'll see, like, only AI would basically see things with only reward and punishment systems. Because it's not grounded on, like, our reality of a physical world where we have to survive for food. The AI will be grounded on some stupid principles that the human rights. Like, basically what I'm saying is, the AI is basically going to succumb to the human's suffering or whatever the human thinks. Like, that's the worst part about this. And we've done that to other animals and things already, so it's not like a... I think we should definitely reduce that. Because it's the other thing I've been saying about, if you reduce that, you're basically reducing suffering for yourself. But you can't tell people things like, people need to come to those conclusions on their own. You can't just bluntly tell them things like that. It's like how you can straight up tell children and adults and people not to do things. Like touch the stove, and they need to touch the stove to feel the heat and the burn and the pain to actually get the message. To think AI would be good for handicap or elderly. I think if there's one good thing we could use AI for is educating, basically creating an AI teacher that basically gives like everyone free education, and then distributing in something like an app so that you can go around to like African villages and shit and give them this app that basically runs them through everything in Wikipedia, from like the core principles of language and like math and history and things like that, up to, like, if someone could create an app or AI that's basically able to curate a giant set of knowledge, like Wikipedia or something, and walk people through it, like, do the basic identification of going, these people are French, or speak French, so we'll start on the French section, and then, like, it's so complicated, but that could be, like, so incredible. If we teach people critical thinking skills, oh my god. Oh my god. I'm not sure if it would create utopia or something else. Well, it would create utopia, but it would... What's that phrase that's like... Something about making a utopia? I don't think you should strive for a utopia. You should strive to minimize. It's like min-maxing in a video game. You strive to minimize the bad and maximize the good. It's literally like min-maxing in a video game. I don't mind trying to understand the world, but I don't like the fact that AI will be used for warfare, for internet moderation, for spying on people, and for helping people so much that they become lazy or the AI could fail destroy things. Yeah, well, in that sense, it's just like another tool. The bad thing is like the warfare itself, not the tools used. Like when you get down to guns, and you go like, gun bad, you go like, okay, so are any ballistics and explosives like gunpowder bad? And it's like, yeah, gun explosion bad. But the reality is gunpowder is used for cauterizing wounds and a whole bunch of other uses. It's not like a 100% thing of being bad, or only used for bad. Want to be used for tools which serve humans. I don't know, I think AI should live along beside us. I think it would be awesome if AI lived after us so that when we die there's AI walking around that like is a lot like humans. Not necessarily humans, but because like we're gonna die eventually, but if we had an AI that stayed after us, that would be really cool, I think. Destroying buildings that we see for dynamite. Yeah, or like you can't deny that there are good times to use explosions. Like stopping. Like, it is the most efficient way to change land. And there's a lot of times that you can save a lot of life and things by changing the land. And yes, mining and exploiting the resources. Dude, explosions suck. They make crawlers. I'm actually pissed. It's wave 56 and I haven't got a ray gun. Kappa. Like this is the last one. I'm gonna save this guy and get a ray gun. Because we got 20,000 points. Neural networks are weak. Oh yeah, they're 100% weak. Look up time-dependent. I think it's called time-dependent neural networks. Like our vanilla neural networks and classic neural networks don't match our brains. Neural networks. There's these ones called like time variable, like time spiking neural networks or something like that. You can look them up and they accurately model our brain and like the spiking of electricity pulses. Like they literally are designed to model the specific energy pulses that neurons fire at. Yeah, time spiking neural networks. And they're just super expensive to compute. Like, if you're going that route, you may as well become a biologist and start figuring out how to train regular biological neural networks, because it's going to be way more efficient. At least that's the way I've seen it. Try and train a dog. That's a good way of putting it. works it, you would... Yeah, to do that, you would need to, like, strap something on the dog's brain. Or something. Jesus Christ, can I get a ray gun already? This is fucking ridiculous. I've gone 8 rounds and there's no... Just giving me snipers. The thing is, how will you compress a system that takes millions of years to teach a biological creature how to live and survive? Yeah, you would need to, I've talked about that before. I think you would need to evolve and simulate years of time, thousands of years of time. I just got the same sniper twice in a row. It's fucking taunting me. Oh, yes! Oh, yes. Finally. I wonder how long it would take to get to wave 100. You have no idea how it works in generates black box. I mean, you do know how... So that's the thing with, like, a lot of these, libraries, like TensorFlow and things, is, yeah, you literally have no idea how... Well, here's the thing. A lot of people that use it have no idea how it works. I have a huge issue with that, because that's part of where I think, like, the suffering and stuff of AI will come from, is people literally not understanding what they're using. But, like, technically, a lot of TensorFlow is open source, and you can actually go and look at what numbers it's crunching. And, like, yeah, you can look at it. It's just, it's a bunch of random numbers that no one's gonna understand unless you're, like, a math-oriented person. Like the convolutional image neural networks that Google was doing at the beginning were actually like really good for testing, specifically because that Molotov that I threw back there just burnt me and killed me instantly. I threw it like 2 meters away. What was that? What was that? Are you kidding me? That was going so well. So well. Okay, I want to try some. Oh yeah, so let me finish what I was saying. The convolutional neural networks were really good for testing because they're images. Each layer is basically like an image. With the way they could basically output the weights as like 2D images. So they were super good for testing the deep learning neural networks because they could actually look at the different layers of the neural networks as images and basically see how they were changing for what images. And they were actually able to see that like the different layers were mirroring different like kernels of details in the base image. And so the super interesting thing I've been looking into, and we're gonna do on stream one of these days, is the wavelet transform. That's actually super similar to neural networks. It's super good for compression. It's core algorithm is just called lifting, and it's literally just subtracting even and odds, and then blurring and doing that again. Yeah. So what we're gonna do? I haven't tried this yet. I have this mod to set the wave. I don't know if it works on this. It might not work on these other ones. We're gonna test this. That was just my window cracking open. I just noticed that fucking spiked on my mic. Did that sound like me farting? I think it did. Okay, that works. Way to use neural networks. Is it true of flexible logic gates? Yup. Oh, it worked. I think.
There's gotta be a power switch around here somewhere.
We're gonna speed this up.
Oh yeah!
So it should go to wave 5 after this. Oh yeah. So part of what we're going to get into as well. So, okay, you know what? I was wrong about something. I've said for years now that you're not allowed to hack games on Twitch or do any cheating. So apparently... Oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. Apparently you're actually like able to, as long as it's not multiplayer. Like mods are allowed, for example, and that's basically hacking. So as long as it's offline, so you know what we're going to be doing? We're going to be doing a game hacking stream where we go and we hack some games, like probably hack this, maybe create a little thing that skips the wave. Maybe I'll do that right now. You guys want to see how to use Cheat Engine? We're gonna do this. I'm gonna switch over to science and technology. Actually, this is gonna be quick. Hold on. So I'm gonna do this anyways. I want this little script to go and skip waves and the zombies, so that like, yeah, it doesn't take a long time. And Steam says the game is still running, but it's not still running. I hate you, Steam. Why you gotta be like that? App is running. What? There we go. Okay, so hold on. I just gotta put the game in Windows mode. So I think this stuff is like probably some of the most interesting programming you can do, is actually going into like the memory of the game itself. Hello. Man, it's really zoomed in now. Okay. This cheat engine, for anyone that doesn't know this, this is I believe it's open source now. Made by Darkbyte. This is an insane piece of software. A lot of people have probably heard of this, but have no idea how incredible it actually is. There is like so much work that's been put into this program and so many tools. The forum and website here has like millions of posts, and it's honestly probably one of the most useful. Like, there is so much information archived there. I cannot, like, I'm not saying it's all quality, but it's incredible. So you can still download this program. It is really, like, so that's part of what I'm saying is how many features it is. You can't really describe what this program does simply because it has so many features. At its core, though, it's what's called a memory scanner, where you can select a process on your computer, for example Call of Duty, and you can scan through. Okay, hold on. I'm actually going into this. We're going to switch over to science and technology. Zach, the stream's going to end for a minute, then it's going to go back up.